control your life? Well, you have the authority to decree freedom and victory over fear. Today, we're going to look how decreeing God's word can break the stronghold of fear and give you boldness in your everyday life. Hi, I'm Crystal, your Christian life coach. So, decreeing freedom and victory over fear. We all are struggling with fear. There is not even one single person on this planet Earth who is not afraid of something or has not been afraid ever in his life. Fear is a very, very powerful stronghold. I call it stronghold because it doesn't easily let go. So let's look at strongholds. There are three types of strongholds. I would want you to know that the very first and most powerful stronghold is God Himself. He is our stronghold. So whom should we be afraid of? He is our strong tower, our rock. He is all of that. So He is the first and most important stronghold. Then there can be demonic strongholds. Demonic strongholds are strongholds which come from the devil. This can be spiritual attacks. In spiritual warfare, we will deal with that. And then there are mental strongholds. Mental strongholds take place in our minds. The things we think of and then we do. And we shouldn't forget that our minds can be influenced by Satan as well. So in some way, mental strongholds are also spiritual strongholds. But don't be afraid, you can break them. God's word says in 2 Corinthians 10, verse 4, the weapons of our warfare are mighty in God to pull down strongholds. I want you to listen to that verse again. The weapons of our warfare are mighty in God to pull down strongholds. So why is it mighty? Because of God, not because of anything else. So it's very important that you remember that, because God adds power to it, and in Him, our weapons are mighty to pull down strongholds. It means we can pull down the stronghold of fear. We do not have to let our life be controlled by fear. Fear is, again, very powerful. We can be afraid of our health. Even when we are healthy, we can be afraid that tomorrow or next year or when we are older, we'll become ill. We can be fearful of our children. We can be fearful in transportation. We can be fearful in our job, our future. Every day, actually every second of the day has chances to be fearful. In the same way, every second of the day gives us chances and opportunities to rely on God and what He says, and replace that fear by freedom, by power, and by boldness in God. So we've seen that fear is a stronghold. We can break that. We can break every chain of fear. Every stronghold of fear can be broken. And we break that by God's words. Well, how do that? By reading God's word? Yes, because by reading, we will take it in. But in this case, we're going to decree it. Because by decreeing, we hear it. And our faith comes by hearing and hearing the words of God. By decreeing God's words, we speak into our future. And so we can do that generally each day of our life so that we reduce the general fear. But we can also do that in specific situations to control every situation and let fear flee and replace it with peace of mind and boldness in God. So how do we do that? Well, we first want to look at what has God given us. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7 says, God has not given us a spirit of fear. Think of that. God has not given us a spirit of fear. So we know the spirit of fear doesn't come from God. So where does it come from? From the enemy. And since we have given the authority to pull down strongholds and bring them obedient to Christ, we can pull down that stronghold of fear because it's not from God. In the next verse, 2 Corinthians 10 verse 5 says, we can take captive every thought and bring it to the obedience of Christ. Now, fear, as I said in the beginning, is very often a thought. It starts with thinking about things, thinking about the negative sides of it, and by the thoughts drop into our hearts. And yes, then our hearts become fearful, but it starts with thoughts. Fear starts with thoughts and then seeps into our hearts. Now, God's word says we can take those thoughts and bring them to the obedience of Christ. What does it mean? It means that we bring it to obedience to what God's word says. We've just seen God is not the one who's giving us a spirit of fear. Then what did He give us? Well, the verse continues. God has given us a spirit of love, of power, and a sound mind. So we can decree that we have a sound mind. Even at the moment, maybe we feel fearful. It doesn't matter, because decreeing, we don't decree how we feel right now. We decree what God's word says it is. And that will let God manifest his word in our lives. Because decreeing is speaking into the future, speak into be. So even when you're afraid, you can decree that you have a spirit of love and power and a sound mind. You can speak to your mind, I have a sound mind. So we have seen the spirit of fear is not from God. So we can use that verse to change it into a decree of our life. But there are so many other verses in God's word. There are actually 365 times in God's word it said, do not be afraid, or do not fear for each day of our life. So God doesn't want us to be afraid. He knows he's not the one who's giving us that spirit. And so we can pick a Bible verse, we can select a Bible verse that applies to fear. A very beautiful one is in Psalm 27, verse 1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? And then it continues. The Lord is a stronghold of my life. For whom shall I be afraid? So we can use this and change it into decree. You can, in this case, simply take the word. If you are getting fearful and you start worrying, you start getting anxious, you say, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Why should I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? Whom shall I fear? So you can use Psalm, and there are so many other Bible verses you can use to speak over your life, and by, you will replace that lie of fear with the truth of God's word, which will give you boldness and faith and victory over fear. Now, if you're afraid to start this, because that is the issue with fear, fear makes us fearful to even fight the fear. Well, think of this. God has given you an armor, and he will fight your battles. He is a mighty man of battle, so he will fight your fight for you. And he has also given you that armor, so you can put on that full armor of God to protect yourself against the wiles of the enemy. So put on the full armor of God. Read in his word day by day. Meditate on God's word. Speak God's word. Decree God's word over your life, and you will see that fear will disappear. It will flee. It will flee, because the Bible, God's word says, resist the devil and he will flee from you. So resist that fear, and you can do it. If in the beginning it doesn't work, don't be afraid. Just continue doing. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. So today we have seen that fear is a stronghold, a powerful stronghold, but you can tear it down by decreeing God's word over your life, because God has not given you the spirit of fear, but of love and power and a sound mind. We've also seen that you can use God's words to change it into decrees and decree them over your life. You can do that step by step, and you will see your life transforming for the better. You'll be bold in faith and walk in victory. Well, I hope this video has been a blessing to you, and that you start stepping into boldness of life and start conquering that fear. And I know you can do it, because you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video. Grow in faith and confidence, knowing that you have conquered fear.